Unfortunately, with this shortage, it's really put some pressure on folks with pricing and with supply. So that I feel terrible about that for these folks out there, but it's good to know that PoolRx is available, and it's at pricing that makes it so affordable and really the most cost-effective way to manage your pools.
This is episode 142 with Fred Schweer of PoolRx. Enjoy!
Welcome to your go-to podcast for the pool and spa industry. My name is Tyler Rasmussen.
And my name is Greg Viafania. And this is the Pool Chasers Podcast.
All right, thanks, Fred, for coming back to the studio, being with us. We appreciate you driving from California, and we haven't really been able to see you for a while because there's no trade shows. So how you doing?
Doing fine, man. Thanks, guys. It's great to be out here. It's actually nice to see you guys face to face. I've been doing these, talking with people on Zoom, and it's just not the same. So being face to face with you guys here is great, and I'm excited to be here. Yeah,
I bet you talk a lot less, huh, with no trade shows going on.
Yeah, I miss the trade show. It's a great. I never thought I would, but it's a great way to communicate and interact with the entire marketplace. So I'm hoping that we can get back to those at some point.
I don't know if anybody's going to recognize you. When you came in here, I was like, who's this skinny dude?
I know, right?
Yeah. How many pounds you lose?
That's a few. It's a
few lbs?
Yeah. It's good though. I turned 50 this year, so my doctor's like, you better get, make a decision here, which way you're going to go. So yeah, I lost about 50 pounds.
That's insane.
Yeah. Just eat
Nice,
less, work out more kind of thing, but all good.
What was your favorite junk food or fast food spot you had to drop and it just killed you?
In-N-Out Burger.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's right by our house. My kids still grind that, and then tacos are any type of taco. I can take about a dozen of those down.
For sure.
So
that's so messed up because kids have that fast metabolism. They could just put down whatever they want. Such bullshit.
Yeah, my boys are now I got a 13-year-old and a 12-year-old. My 13 is almost going to be 14, but he's hitting that age where he's starting to eat everything in the house. And so yeah, I get jealous when they are pounding tacos and burgers, and I'm sitting there having a salad.
Yeah, everybody has to get there at one point.
Yeah.
Did you at least do animal style on the
Oh yeah, dude.
press? Yeah,
for sure.
Got to.
For sure.
That trips me out. People are like, "Oh, that's disgusting." I'm like, "Dude, you
haven't tried it.
There's something wrong with you." Like, I'll put down cases of this stuff.
Not really my thing, but that is definitely the way to go. I mean, if you're going to eat In-N-Out, that's what people say anyway.
Yeah. Well, let's move past this because Fred is. I can see he's getting a little bit frustrated.
I'm getting hungry.
Maybe he's getting hungry. Well, just to recap, we had you on the podcast before, episode 8, way back, actually in 2018, which is crazy to say that, but kind of talked about your story and, how we used the product for our company, Brothers Pool Service at the time. And we really believe in the product. If you go back and listen to it, you'll hear us talk about how we believe in it, how we installed it in every pool, and kind of the process for that. So we went into real extent detail on that. And needless to say, we thoroughly obviously believe in the product. So can you give us a recap, Fred, maybe on what PoolRx is, if nobody's really heard of it before?
Yeah, for sure. So PoolRx is an EPA-registered, NSF 50 certified algaecide. So what is that, right? So let me break that down for a second. EPA is the Environmental Protection Agency, and what they do is they provide a verifiable means of ensuring that a product is legitimate and legal to use. And what they also do is they scientifically evaluate the products for safety, efficacy, environmental impact, and the legitimacy of the claims that are made on the product. So the EPA registration is critical when you're buying products, especially an algaecide, or that's something that claims to kill something else. It's got to be EPA registered. Any product that can kill, sanitize, disinfect anything has to be registered with the U.S. EPA. The other thing that's important to understand is that other products such as phosphate removers, enzymes, clarifiers, flocculants, they don't need the EPA registration because they don't kill anything. So having that EPA registration is a differentiator for us. So the NSF 50 certification is important as well. And the NSF 50 is actually a recreational water safety standard for equipment and chemicals. So again, it's recreational water. And this is basically an additional quality and safety test. So the fact that PoolRx is NSF 50 certified should really just give users just another level of confidence that the product is safe. It's safe to use in your pools.
Yeah, and that's extremely important because I can't tell you how many backyards we were in and we wanted to add some type of new product, especially PoolRx, and the customers don't know water chemistry or any type of science the way that you just explained it, but being able to tell them that it's, NSF certified and all those different things, that really helps in letting them know that it's, safe for animals, safe for your family, and say the interior finish of the pool tile, the equipment, that goes a long way.
Yeah, having, both EPA doing their testing and then having also the NSF, us to comply with, our product is within their standards, which is even a higher bar. These are important factors to set us apart, as not only a product that works and does what it says it does with the EPA, but it's also complies and is within these standards of the NSF 50 certification. So again, it just adds to the user confidence and also the customer confidence that they know that, this is a safe product.
Right. So tell us a little bit more how it works.
Yeah. So PoolRx basically has two different sizes. You have the blue unit that handles 7,500 to 20,000 gallons, and then you have the black unit that handles 20 to 30,000 gallons. Inside each one of these units is a unique alloy cylinder, and this alloy is packed with our mineral formulation. And it's a granular mineral formulation, and what happens is once you place it in the pool, the water dissolves the minerals into the water in the first 3 or 4 hours. And those minerals form a stable residual throughout the entire body of water. And what the minerals are doing is it's killing and preventing any algae from growing. And then as that water with the mineral in it passes back over that alloy cylinder, there's a reaction with the minerals in the water and that particular alloy that keep those minerals active for up to 6 months. So really what you're doing is you're getting the right size unit based on the size of your pool, and you're dropping it in the skimmer or the pump basket. You're turning your pump on for at least 3 or 4 hours after the install. The minerals dissolve into solution, and with a little bit of chlorine in the water and normal pool chemistry, they're killing and preventing algae for up to 6 months.
Right. And how long do you usually want to let the pool run after you add this in?
Yeah, on our directions, it says a minimum of 3 to 4 hours. I recommend, the longer you can run it, the better. Depending on flow rates will depend on how fast that they dissolve. So if you put it in the skimmer, it may dissolve a little bit more slowly depending on your flow. But the longer you let it dissolve the very first installation, the better. It needs to pass through the filter, so you want to make sure your filter's clean before putting it in. That's one of the mistakes people do on installation is they don't clean the filter first, and those minerals get caught up on a dirty filter and they don't dissolve through, and then you don't have enough mineral in the water. But yeah, 3 or 4 hours is fine typically. If you can run it longer, even better, because you get more circulation on that initial install, which definitely helps.
So with a sand filter or D filter, you backwash first.
Yeah.
Then add the PoolRx.
Yep.
With the cartridge filter, you try to time it around to filter clean.
Right. The cleaner it is, the better results. You're going to get those minerals to dissolve through. And you may notice your filter pressure goes up a little bit after the initial install. That's just those minerals dissolving through the filter. It'll drop back down after a couple of days. So don't freak out. Just let it do its thing, and it'll dissolve through into the water.
Yeah, we tried to time the cartridge filters around when we would do the cartridge filter cleans. So, that's the best way that you get the best results for sure.
Right.
Yeah, that was a part of our whole process, and we talked about that on episode 8, but took on a new customer, and it was right away, you're getting a filter clean. If it's a cartridge filter, do a cartridge filter clean, put the blue or black PoolRx in there, let it run, like you said, for 3 or 4 hours. And if it was a DE filter, we actually wouldn't put the diatomaceous earth in the skimmer. We would actually put the PoolRx in, let those minerals kind of stick to the grids and let the water circulate, and add the DE later. But that process, the pools pop using less chlorine, and I know we're going to get all into that, but man, it's just and if you listen to episode 8, you can hear more about it or contact us. But adding that to your process and having that down is so important, especially now with using less chlorine. Just being able to do that every 6 months. Putting in a new unit every 6 months is crucial.
Yeah, we the product itself. So since you brought that up, it's not really every 6 months. So the PoolRx unit there's enough mineral in the unit in a blue or black unit to last up to 6 months, and then after 6 months, what you're going to notice is that your chlorine demand is going to start going back up, and that may be less than 6 months, depending on the bather loading conditions of the pool, depending on how tough of conditions the pool was. Was it green when you first opened it up, and when is it, did you get it clear with the PoolRx? And this goes into how the minerals are lost. And let me just hit on this real quick. The minerals get used up from killing algae, backwashing, splash out, and filter cleanings. So the more those factors are happening, the shorter the lifespan of the minerals. For example, if you go to you have a new account on your route and it's a totally green pool, and you want to get it cleared up, well, you can do that using PoolRx. But the thing is, the minerals, like I mentioned, they get used up from killing algae. So you're not going to, on a green pool cleanup, you're going to get it cleared up, and it's going to stay clear for several months. But some of that mineral does get used up from killing that initial algae. So in those cases where you have a green pool or really tough conditions or excessive backwashing or splash out, you may not get 6 months out of the mineral. The minerals do get used up over time, and they get filtered out. And so,
but what is the best way to gauge if it's used all the minerals or not?
Yeah, good. That's a good question. So there's kind of 3 ways. The first thing you're going to notice is that your chlorine demand is going back up. And what I mean by that is when you first put PoolRx in, we are freeing up lower levels of chlorine to be more available. So it's going to take you less chlorine to reach whatever desired part per million you want to keep. And so you're going to notice it's taking you less chlorine weekly to keep your residual, your target part per million. As the minerals get used up in the water, the chlorine demand is going to start going up because the microalgae in the water is starting to grow again. And it's that microalgae that consumes the chlorine first, right? So as the minerals are used up, there's less and less mineral content in the water. Now the microalgae is able to start growing. And because of that, now that chlorine is being used up and consumed much more quickly. That's the first noticeable difference. The second noticeable would be cloudy water. Say, I have a free chlorine residual, all my water's in balance, my chemicals are in balance, everything's good, pH and alkalinity is good, I have free chlorine, but my water's just dull looking. It's kind of cloudy, not looking good. That's the second noticeable difference, and that's because that microalgae is starting to grow and get bigger and bigger, and it's starting to make you have a cloudy pool. The third thing would be any visible sign of algae. So if you see a little green tinge to the water or a little mustard spot somewhere, at that point, there's not enough mineral in the water. So those are kind of the 3 levels of what you'll see in your pool as these minerals do get used up. And those are all reasons why we have the booster, which we talked about it briefly earlier. If you ever notice any of those 3 things happening, you can just simply add booster minerals. The booster is the same mineral that's inside of the unit, right? It's the same granular mineral formulation that's inside the blue or the black unit. The booster is the same amount that's in the blue unit. It's supporting 7,500 to 20,000 gallons. So if you have a blue unit pool, you would use 1 booster. If you have a pool that's 20 to 30,000 gallons, you may need to use 2 boosters. We are coming out probably in the next 4 to 6 months with a black size booster, which is 12 ounces of mineral compared to the 8 ounces of mineral in the blue booster. So it'll have extra mineral. It's just a little bit larger container with extra mineral in there for pools that are that 20 to 30,000 gallon size. So
nice.
That's coming out pretty soon. We are still in production on that. But my point being is that the minerals are doing, we have to have the right amount of mineral in the water for it to do its job. And then back to your question is, do we put a new PoolRx in every 6 months? Well, no, you don't have to, because the alloy cylinder inside the unit is effective for 1 year in the water to rejuvenate the minerals in the water. Over time, that alloy does get scaled and corroded, and it loses its connectivity with the minerals in the water. So that unit that you buy in the beginning of the season, you put that in, there's enough mineral in it for up to 6 months. If you need to boost it, you boost it, and then you start with a new unit the following year.
Right. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we are clear on you don't have to buy a brand new PoolRx unit every 6 months. You can. It's not going to hurt you, but that's also why we have the booster.
That's why you guys, we'll talk about the special later, but you time the special right to be right in the beginning of the summer. So that's what we used to do. Again, episode 8 talks all about it, but you buy it in the beginning of summer, put it in, it lasts all summer. There's your 6 months, 4,
Right.
5, 6 months
Yep.
of use. And then if you have pools that need boosters, you can put them in through the winter. But if you time it right and you put them in April per se, like we did,
Yeah.
you'll get you all summer. So it really helps as a
Right.
as a preventative, and also kind of as like a saver.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you have 100 pools, typically you're going to maybe need, 10% may need a booster, before that 6-month period. That's pretty average because you're getting a variety of sizes. You're right. You might undersize it a little bit. You might have, a tough condition, in some of those pools. So on give or take, it's about 10% that may need a booster before the 6-month period.
Right. And do you recommend, because there's tons of variables, right? And I'm sure heat being one of them. If somebody has a spa, even if it's a spillover, do you maybe recommend getting like a smaller unit? I know you do make even like the tiny yellow and black ones, but if there's a dedicated pump to, say, a spa, it might be the same body of water. It's a spillover, but if it's not spilling over, it'll just kind of circulate within there.
Yeah, if there's a spillover and you're sharing the water with the pool, then you wouldn't add anything else additional to the spa. So it's just about gallons of water.
But the water being heated constantly, that is going to consume those minerals.
No,
faster.
actually, no. So that's another cool part is
because don't people want to piss in the water more when the water's warm? I'm just saying.
Well, I can't.
I'm very responsible. I'll get out
chlorine
and piss in the
usage,
bushes.
I can't help you on that. But I can tell you that our minerals are not being affected by heat. They're not being affected by sunlight. So they're very stable. They're much more stable in the water than chlorine is. And so again, that's the stability and the efficiency of the minerals in the water. It really is more practical than having a bunch of chlorine in the water. So back to your point though, with the yellow and the black spa units, the yellow one handles 100 to 400 gallons and the black handles 400 to 1,000 gallons, but those would be for, separate standalone spas or hot tubs, so the above ground hot tubs or spas are kind of where that would go. Or if you have an in-ground and it's just a separate body of water, that's what you would use.
Right.
They're really nice for the big water features too. Like if you have, a couple 100-gallon water feature, we used to use those a lot. It helps prevent algae on the calcium line.
They were
the
phenomenal.
water line.
All the fountains that we had, we always had those in the fountains.
Yeah, for sure.
We want to thank Pentair for supporting the show. As a podcast for pool professionals, we know that when you sell products, it's your reputation on the line. And when they are Pentair products, it's theirs as well. That's why Pentair's got your back with their trade grade program, which supports your business and reputation by offering exclusive tools and support for lead generation, attractive product rebates and longer warranties, and an unmatched expertise when it comes to accurate equipment selection, setup, and service. So to learn more about how trade grade protects, empowers, and helps your business grow, visit pentair.com/trade grade. That's pentair.com/trade grade, or click the link below.
And we know like the install process is very important. So let's reiterate on that. What are some of the common mistakes people make when doing so?
Yeah. So it's funny, it's such an easy product to use, right? You just place it in the skimmer or the pump basket and you kind of, the idea is just set it and forget it. But, truth be told is, yes, that's true, but you have to follow our basic directions. Number one, sizing. You got to size it properly, right? We talked about that a little bit. Put the right size in based on the gallons of the pool. Number two is you want to start with a clean filter. Okay, that's really important because, like I said, if the filter is dirty, it's not going to dissolve through into the water. You're not going to have enough mineral in the water. Number three is you got to make sure you run your pump after you install it. If you don't, if you put this thing in at 8 o'clock in the morning and the pump doesn't turn on until 8 o'clock at night because they're trying to save money, running the pump at night, and the minerals have been dissolving in the water for 12 hours, they're going to dissolve in the bottom of the basket in this big concentration of minerals. And then the pump turns on, 8, 10 hours later, 12 hours later, and it blows 20,000 gallons worth of mineral into the pool all at one time. That's not how it's designed to work. So that's why we want to make sure you run that pump after the install. If it just blows a big plume of blue mineral into the water, you're going to see it settle to the bottom or stick to the scale, and you're going to have to deal with that. I can get into the fix on that pretty easily. But so, again, just make sure you have at least 3 or 4 hours of runtime after the install. And also, you want to have your water in normal pool chemistry ranges, right? pH and alkalinity, pH 7.2 to 7.8, alkalinity 80 to 120, and at least 0.5 to 1 part per million of free chlorine in the water. We say on our directions that you want to have your cyanuric below 100 parts per million, which is great. If it's above 100 parts per million, that's okay. But what people run into is they don't keep their water in balance. So their cyanuric acid levels get to 150, 200, 200 plus, and they don't realize that cyanuric acid affects your alkalinity. And if you're not doing an adjusted alkalinity calculation, your water can get out of balance pretty easily because of the highest cyanuric. And so as a general rule, when your cyanuric is above 100 parts per million, your alkalinity reading on your test is 1/3 lower than it's telling you. So what that means is if your alkalinity is reading at 90, but your cyanuric acid is above 100, your alkalinity isn't 90, it's more like 60. Okay, and so that becomes a problem and important because as the higher the cyanuric goes in the water, and if you're not adjusting your alkalinity, the lower your alkalinity is getting, and eventually your water gets so out of balance that your cyanuric is saturated in the water, your water's out of balance because your alkalinity is so low and your pH is high or at normal range, and what happens is that cyanuric acid can fall out of solution. And it can coagulate or attach to the copper mineral in the water, and it turns into what's called copper cyanurate. And copper cyanurate is this purple dust that forms. It sticks, to scale. It can be brushed up. Typically, it gets brushed up, and you think, I can brush it up, I can vacuum it up, and it just keeps forming. So to avoid that, again, you can have elevated cyanuric levels, not a problem, 200, 300 parts per million, but just make sure you're adjusting your alkalinity up. Sodium bicarb, baking soda is a very inexpensive way to do that. And as long as you are adjusting alkalinity up when your cyanuric is elevated, you will not run into that problem with PoolRx. Again, the benefit to PoolRx, guys, is that even in these high cyanuric pools, as you guys know, the higher the cyanuric goes, the slower the chlorine kills anything. Right? So as that cyanuric really gets above 50 parts per million, it actually slows down the speed of which it can kill.
Right.
So with PoolRx in the water, because we are able to really do the hard work of killing the algae and preventing it, now that slow-acting chlorine is more available to go after the bacteria and other contaminants in the water, keeping the water safe and really clarifying that water, keeping it clear. So PoolRx is great in these high cyanuric environments. It really saves you, but you do need to be aware that you need to keep an eye on your alkalinity. And as long as you do that, you're going to be smooth sailing.
Very good. So you guys have launched a new product called the PoolRx Plus. You want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we've been working on PoolRx Plus for a few years now. It's really just going to be our next generation product from PoolRx. It's going to PoolRx Plus will eventually replace PoolRx, but we're going to continue to sell both these products for the next couple of years. The difference with PoolRx Plus, we've 3 EPA-registered active ingredients, and again, I talked about the EPA and how that's important and why. The PoolRx Plus now has copper sulfate pentahydrate, silver nitrate, zinc sulfate monohydrate. And of course, we're still using our proprietary chelation and manufacturing process with the PoolRx Plus. So it's going to work the same as PoolRx does as far as your sizing, installation, and maintenance. But again, what PoolRx is great at is it really does the heavy lifting. It's more efficient at killing and helping kill certain parts of the algae compared to chlorine. So you can use a ton of chlorine in the water and it'll kill algae, but it takes so much more chlorine to do that because chlorine is not efficient at breaking down the wall, at disrupting the DNA and eliminating the nucleus, PoolRx is, right? So that's why PoolRx is so valuable to have in the water because we're able to do the heavy lifting of what the chlorine is not good at doing, right? So that's again speaks to the chlorine reduction of what PoolRx provides you. And so again, having those 3 active ingredients is important. they all work together to do a better job of what we're trying to get at, which is killing and preventing algae. And by doing that, again, it's freeing up the chlorine to be more available.
Right. And that's awesome that nothing in the process really changes. I mean, it's going to be, the blue and black, and you just size the pool appropriately, still do the filter cleans, make sure it's within range.
Yep, absolutely. And, the thing about, so we're only rolling out PoolRx Plus to certain markets right now. We are still waiting on California DPR, the Department of Pesticide Regulation.
Really?
Yeah, we're still,
Shocker.
That's crazy.
I know, surprising.
Very
right?
interesting.
Surprising. Yeah, so they take some time. They usually take longer than everybody else. So we're still waiting on that. So, you're not going to be able to get PoolRx Plus just yet in California. But when it does, come through, you guys will be the first to know. And then, of course, you'll start seeing it in your distributors. Like as of right now, people that don't know about PoolRx Plus, they're probably showing up to distribution saying, can I buy some PoolRx? And the distributor is selling them PoolRx Plus as of right now. Not in California. So California, there's no PoolRx Plus out there, and there won't be until it gets registered there.
So what if I get caught at state line with going into California? Because I know some people that'll probably want the new PoolRx.
So,
Am I going to get in big trouble?
So speaking of that, so let's be clear. So
You got any fruit? You got any PoolRx Pluses?
Yeah, no. So let's go back to the folks in California. Look, in reality, in the pools, in the field, you're not going to notice a huge difference, right? I mean, and that's also another reason we're not raising the price on PoolRx Plus. All right, so you're going to buy PoolRx and you're going to buy PoolRx Plus for the same price. That's important to understand. I don't want everyone to be like, oh, I'm only going to buy PoolRx Plus. PoolRx is already a rock star product. The PoolRx original product is already a complete rock star, but we're not going to raise the price. So if you're in California, don't feel like you have to go, call Greg and smuggle PoolRx Plus to California.
We got you.
You don't need to be smuggling that. You're gonna be good to go with your PoolRx.
But I mean,
I got you.
Yeah, right.
Jeez.
But I mean, what you mean by it's you're always constantly looking to improve, like you should be doing, and you've found ingredients now that do that, right? And so, because it's already a good product, you may not see too much of a change in the water, but it is actually doing more.
Yeah, no, it's correct.
And as far as the chlorine reduction goes, I wanted to just touch base on that a little bit more, with the chlorine shortage going on right now. Can you talk about, why this product is almost designed for this time of, where chlorine is hard to get, and what you really can take advantage of by using a product like PoolRx?
Yeah, and so I hit on that a little bit earlier, but the important fact is, even in clear pools, there's microalgae that grows, all right, and it's that algae that is a big consumer of your chlorine in the water. And when you're putting PoolRx in the water, we're eliminating and preventing even that microalgae. And so what that does is it really frees up the chlorine in the water to be more available to eliminate other contaminants and really clarify the water. So the other benefit is that the minerals are always working for you, right? You're only at the pool once a week. And nowadays with this chlorine shortage, people are looking for other alternatives. They're going to more liquids and calhypos, where they're not able to, they're used to using dichlor and trichlor, but now with the shortage and the increase in pricing, they're looking for other options. So even in folks that are going to straight liquid chlorine, you're going to be able to get your part per million at a point that is going to handle that pool's bather loading conditions. And it's going to take you less chlorine to reach that point and maintain that chlorine longer, because the minerals are in the water, taking away all the hard work of what that chlorine had to do before. Mm-hmm. And so that's going to definitely save guys on their chlorine demand this season, which, unfortunately with this shortage, it's really put some pressure on folks with pricing and with supply. So that I feel terrible about that for these folks out there, but it's good to know that PoolRx is available, and it's at pricing that makes it so affordable and really the most cost-effective way to manage your pools. The minerals are always working. Again, guys, the minerals get rejuvenated and they last for up to 6 months. So you're installing the PoolRx, you're selling it to your customer one time, and the minerals are always working for you, even when your chlorine demands fluctuate, even when your chlorine goes down to 0 because they had a big party, you're not going to get algae in that water by the time you get back to that pool the following week. So definitely helps you on saving on chlorine. It also helps you on those complaint calls that you're not going to get, algae in these pools, from week to week. It also eliminates the need for other products in the water. As far as cost savings going, you're not going to have to use phosphate removers with PoolRx. Phosphates are food for algae, and so if we're eliminating and preventing the algae from growing, it doesn't matter how much food's in the water, right? So phosphates don't consume chlorine. What consumes the chlorine is the algae those phosphates feed. But again, with PoolRx, there is no algae, so you don't have to worry about phosphates. You're not going to have to add clarifiers to the water because the chlorine's now more available to really clarify that water. And you don't have to add, obviously, other algaecides. So it's a definite chemical saving story when it comes to your pools week to week. And as far as a chlorine reduction, it is what it is. It is going to save you typically 50% on your chlorine bill. So whatever you spent on chlorine last year, you can knock that in half if you're using PoolRx. So
I mean, that was huge for us because we were spending with 400 pools. You're spending $2,500, or more a month on tabs, and especially here in a market like Arizona where we're using 3, 4, 5 tabs per pool in the summer, and this really did help to lower that. I mean, there's so many benefits to us using PoolRx at Brothers, but that's one of the biggest reasons we wanted to switch to it was for that reduction in the price that we could save on that back end. There's a lot more to it, but the savings on that end was huge.
Yeah, no, for sure. And really for people that haven't used it, the quality of the water really does. I mean, the chlorine is so much more available that it really allows these pools to really sparkle. I mean, they really pop.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That they do.
Yeah.
100%. You guys reminded me of something with a lot of the chlorine shortage. I imagine there's a lot more salt generators going into pools. Yep. How well does the PoolRx work for salt pools?
Yeah, great question. So it's perfect for salt pools for a couple of reasons. One is, again, like I mentioned, our chelation is so strong. The chelation prevents the minerals from falling out of solution due to high pH, right? Typically, the salt generator is producing pH of about 13 off the salt cell, and that typically would knock other minerals out of the water, where ours it doesn't. So it's safe to use, number one. Number two is that, like I mentioned, you're going to be able to use less chlorine, so you're going to be able to turn down that salt generator typically by about 50% of its previous setting. So you're not going to have as high a generation. If you're not producing as much high pH chlorine in the water, you're not going to have to use as much acid to bring down that pH, which also helps you there. And then again, like I mentioned earlier, the zinc in the product is a natural descaler, so you're not going to have to clean the salt cell as frequently. We don't sell it as a descaling product. Like, it's not going to just like take the scale off anything. But what the zinc does is it helps prevent the scale from attaching as easily. So it's not going to get caked on as quickly. So again, another factor benefiting the salt cell. You're not going to have to clean it as frequently or turn it, use it as hard. So it's going to prolong the life of that. And again, even with your fluctuations in bather loading conditions, the minerals are always working for you. So you're probably not going to have to add additional chlorine each week to those pools.
Very good.
Our friends at Lamont were on the podcast a few weeks back where we discussed their story in the WaterLink Spin Touch, which brings their advanced technology out into the field. The patented WaterLink Spin reagent disc is used with the innovative photometer to measure 10 different tests in just 60 seconds and have those results displayed simultaneously on the photometer's touchscreen, along with the capability to send that data through Bluetooth to a smartphone or tablet. The photometer can measure free chlorine, bromine, total chlorine, combined chlorine, pH, alkalinity, hardness, cyanuric acid, copper, iron, phosphate, borate, biguanide shock, and salt. This is the most advanced system for precise use of wet chemistry methods ever produced. Pool and spa professionals can achieve precision without time-consuming tests and cleanup procedures. This groundbreaking analysis system is so simple, anyone can use it. No vials to fill, no prep time, and no guessing. To learn more, check out episode 136 of the podcast or click the link below.
So let's talk strategy a little bit. Can you make any recommendations on how to actually pitch this to customers the right way? And we love this about you guys, and I know you'll get into it, but you actually are even writing email templates. I mean, you need to manipulate them a little bit, but we just always thought that that was the coolest thing, because just saving us so much time in just kind of having this email put together. But if you could just kind of go over all that.
Yeah. Years ago, we used to actually print up little, billing inserts. And then we got so much feedback of, oh, can you make it this way? Can you make it that way? What can you just say it this way and then print some for me? And we're like, okay, let's make this easier. We're gonna, like you mentioned, so you go to our website, PoolRx.com, and you register with us.
Sorry, let me say something real quick. Everybody listening, you got to do a little bit of work, because
Right?
this shit gets old.
I know, right?
Like, give you an inch and you go a mile. Can I have everything? Like, bro, you got to do a little bit of work.
Right.
Like, can't give you everything.
Exactly.
Well, it's not much work. I mean, you just got to log onto our website, register with us, and then you're going to get sent a password. All right. And it's going to take you to your pool professional section. And there we have what we call customizable offer letters. And we've pre-written 5 different letters, and they just basically come up in Word on your computer, a Word program. And we have it written 5 different ways, depending on what type of customer you have or the way you want to say it. We have it, for salt pool customers, for old water, high cyanuric pools. We have it for, folks that want to use less chlorine in their pool, or want to be, they want to use the less chemicals. So it was kind of targeted a few different ways to try to pinpoint some, key benefits depending on the customer. We also have just a couple generic ones as well. I recommend checking out the short version. That's the one that seems to be the most popular when we see people downloading these things. But it comes up on Word. You're able to customize it. If you're able to change who it's to, make it from who you are. You can change the price point. You can make it mandatory. You can make it just an offer. So ultimately, it gives you some freedom. And then what you do is you save it on your computer and you print it out. Or you save it and you can email blast it to your customer base. And what it's really helping you do is to introduce PoolRx to your customer base. As it's coming from you, you're able to buy it from distribution. You're able to sell it to your customer at the same price you bought it, or for a profit. And then what you're doing is getting it in the pool and having the customer pay for it. And on the back end of your route, you're able to save, like I was mentioning, all these time and money at the pool, and you're not even out of pocket for the product. So helping you sell it to your customer base is really what we do on our website. And again, you can customize it to your liking. You can cut and paste. You can, add, delete, whatever you want. But it's been a great tool for service professionals to introduce this into their program. And this is the first way that they do that, is with these letters. And then some folks, make their own. They just kind of copy and paste some of the stuff and make their own letter to their customers, and as it's coming from them.
Right. And we think that's awesome. I'll just share what we did exactly. Is we did take the copy and brought it into MailChimp, and we just create a campaign for a big group of people. That way we can actually see who's opened it, who hasn't, and maybe we can send a follow-up email, or we can call them on the phone, whatever it may be. We can actually track that. But the copy is the most difficult part. We take the copy and then we put it into a template that's really on brand for, say, Brothers at the time. So, writing it all up, that's the most difficult part. And you do want to go in and read every single word that's in there to make sure that it's what you want to say. Because you don't want somebody to come back and ask you something that you might not be able to answer. But it's totally worth the effort in doing all of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And even if, just a one-man band and you just want to print some out to have in your truck to introduce folks to them, that's also, very easy to do. So, from someone like a big company like Brothers that had hundreds and hundreds of pools and lots of people working for them, and then you have your, if you're just a single pool service provider, on either end of that spectrum, there is a definite value in helping you, sell this to your customer.
I want to touch base and remind people, service technicians and service companies, that your job is much more than chemicals, right? And that's I think the main pushback from service providers or customers is, oh, if I'm reducing my chemical usage, why do I need you, right? Like, you do way more than test and balance chemicals.
Sure.
And that should be part of your sales pitch and your service agreement and everything we talk about. But, you are way more than that, and that should not be the hurdle you have to overcome all the time.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Yeah. And also, you should charge for the product. That was a good way for us to make money going in the summer to help with that chlorine, to help us purchase more chlorine during those months. Like, if we, obviously that's going to be on a customer per customer basis. If you have somebody that's fighting you on it, you want to sell them for cost, that's up to you. But for the most part, if you sell it and pitch it correctly, customers aren't going to argue about it, and you should make a profit. I mean, you are going to make a profit up front, and then you're also going to benefit on the back end. So
Right, exactly.
there's a lot of benefits to it, but you should be doing that, and that's the proper and best way to do it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But you're running a business.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, let's be real. Does anybody really want to be a professional, like, pool company? Like, if you could have any job in the world, you'd probably be doing something else. This is a business. You treat people right, give them a good product, and make good money. This, to me, is the easiest sell.
Yep.
I never got any pushback on selling PoolRx's, and it's because at the time, knew the product fairly well, and I just seen it work. I mean, our first experience was by far the coolest. You can hear it on episode 8,
Yeah,
but we did everything to this pool. And I think we got a free unit from you many years ago. Said, just try it when you get a chance. Had this in the back of the truck, the back seat. And we tried everything. We even did a sand change, and this was
On
like
spot.
a long time ago.
Yeah, dude.
Tried everything, and this thing, you couldn't, like, you could put your hand in the pool, you wouldn't see your hand. I mean, it was bad. Let it run. After doing the sand change, nothing. All the chemicals in there, nothing. And it's like, dude, you got this like PoolRx thing. And it's like, what do we got to lose, man? I mean, we're this close to draining the pool, so let's see what's up. Put that thing in there. I swear to God, like less than 24 hours, customer calls and be like, dude, this pool is popping, it's shining. I'm like, no. I'm like,
There's no way.
I'm like, it cannot be the house we've been at like nonstop. And sure enough, we go over there, and I mean, I was like, what the freak? What the hell?
What is this
Yeah,
thing?
it's that's it really.
Well, hey, Fred. Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, man.
The customer satisfaction is definitely another factor that goes, without saying. Is once you get it in, your customer is going to be pretty stoked, and they're going to tell you thank you. So it's nice to be able to provide a product to somebody, that you can stand behind, and then after you put it in, you really see the difference. So it's a definite benefit to you as a service professional. That's, your credibility raises, and also obviously the customer's happier, and you're making more money. So it's a good deal.
And I think, from a company that had technicians, we've talked about a little bit, but having that as your kind of, saver on the back end really helps, because if you ever hire technicians like we all have, like sometimes they're not as good as they say they are, or they don't understand water chemistry as well as you think they do. And having that just being there and helping you to say, okay, this guy, because I remember 2 or 3 different times we had whole routes where the technician sucked, and like we had to go back, and all these pools had like 0 or 1 chlorine, but because they had PoolRx, we didn't get calls for green pools. We just had to correct it, and it was pretty awesome to not have to like flip 60 pools.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
It's really cool for that side of things, I think.
The insurance policy benefit of that, where it's you're not gonna play that roller coaster ride during the summer.
Yeah.
So we know that the spring special's coming up, which, we always got stocked up, for brothers on the PoolRx's. What do you have going on this year, and when does all that get kicked off?
Yeah, so every March and April, we do a national promotion through distribution. Again, anybody out there, everyone's like, oh, I want to buy a couple hundred units. Can I buy them direct from PoolRx? No, we don't sell direct. We sell through distribution. Starting March 1st through April 30th, there's a sale through every distributor that purchases PoolRx. And this sale basically will be provided to you. This discount will be provided to you at the time of purchase. And then we provide a credit back to our distributors on the back end to make them whole. The sale price is the same as it's been in the past. 4 packs of PoolRx and PoolRx Plus of blue units will be $15 off. The black PoolRx and PoolRx Plus will be $17.50 off, and the 4-packs of the boosters, both the original and the Plus, will be $7.50 off. So the best way to buy our products to get a quote from your distributors is in the 4-packs, and the best time to buy them is from March 1st through April 30th. And then again, guys, we do have another sale that we do August 1st through September 30th in case you guys need some boosters or you pick up some new pools later in the season. So those are the two major sell times for our product, and that's the best time to purchase. And again, guys, ask for 4-packs and from your distributors. That's going to be the lowest cost average per unit for you guys.
Yeah, and that savings really, when you're selling them to 300 plus pools like we did, makes a big difference. And that's where you can really benefit, I think, on making some money, and also if you want to give your customer the price, that helps too. So, and there were obviously, like I said, there were a few that we just put in without charging them. There were a few that we gave them cheaper pricing, but for the majority of the time, they don't really, if you set it up correctly, they're not really arguing that. So, that's, we bought, I think, 300 units the last time we did it. And that was a big job and a big bill, but, we made, I think, $6 or $7 grand off of them by just installing them, so.
Yep.
And we have listeners all over the world, actually. We don't know, what's where. So if somebody has distribution that they like to go to, say in another state, country, city, whatever, and they don't have PoolRx, what's the best thing for them to do?
Yeah, if
and they want the best price.
Sure.
I know you can go online and different things like that.
Yeah. So we sell through major broadline distributors. I mean, you're not going to be able to call us up and say, hey, I want to be a distributor for PoolRx. I mean, we're going to say, well, who are you, and where, and what do you sell? Well, we don't sell anything yet, but we want to sell PoolRx, and we'll buy a bunch of them. So that's not really our market. We want to sell to established distributors, that are broadline, that have a variety of products. So, that's really to support that. We call it the channel. We want to make sure that all of our distributor partners are legitimate, broadline distributors, and that's. There's a lot of them out there.
But are you the best point of contact if somebody goes to their distribution and just wants it to be
I'll be surprised. There? Yeah, so if they need to, we also have, so you can call into PoolRx, call into PoolRx, email us or call us, and we'll definitely get them set up. We also do have our sales reps throughout the country. We have 5 different rep companies that help support us as well, and we can direct you to those local reps if needed. Again, that's through giving us a call or hitting us up with an email. We'll get back to you on that.
Right. You guys doing any tabletops right now or no?
Oh yeah. Our reps, we have 20 reps throughout the country, and yes, they're starting to do some tabletops, which is cool. They're kind of hit and miss depending on what hotspot they are in or not in, and depending on what distributor. They're starting to be able to do a couple of those now, but it's still, with COVID, it's been a challenge, to say the least. A lot more Zoom calls and Zoom meetings. PoolRx, we're very available. I mean, if you guys have questions, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Call us up, shoot us an email, and we're really good about getting back to you. That also does lead me a little bbit to more information. PoolRx.com is the website, and our product FAQs is a great resource for you to. There's, I think, 24 frequently asked questions, FAQs, and they're a great resource if you're new to PoolRx, or if you've even been doing it for years. I would always recommend you reading through all 24 of them, and it's going to give you a better idea how not to screw it up, right? Mm-hmm. And we didn't really talk about that, but I want to hit on 4 common ways to avoid screwing this thing up. Yes, it's easy to use. All you do is you follow those directions we talked about, but there's 4 ways to screw it up. 1, oversizing. Okay, too much mineral in the water. It won't have room to dissolve into the water. It'll stay in granular form, and you'll see all this extra, your water will be blue, and it'll just be overdosed. Okay, like any chemical product out there, you don't want to overdose your pool. Number 2, installation. Make sure that you run the pump after install. Like I talked about that earlier, you got to make sure those minerals dissolve into solution properly. Number 3, if you're using Cal Hypo, which is going to be popular this year because of the shortages, Cal Hypo is great. Not all Cal Hypo is made the same. Some cal hypo dissolves very quickly. It's a very fine powdered cal hypo that dissolves very quickly and easily into the water. Other cal hypo has a lot of different other ingredients, and it doesn't dissolve so well. So you're going to want to definitely follow the directions of the cal hypo you're using. To be safe, you're going to want to dissolve and dilute cal hypo before pouring in the pool. The only one product that I know that doesn't have that issue is that Leslie's Power Powder cal hypo. It dissolves very quickly and there's never an issue. What happens if you pour cal hypo that doesn't dissolve, in some cases, depending on your water chemistry, the granular cal hypo settles to the bottom of the pool, and it can instantly oxidize. And you'll see all these little black dots where that cal hypo oxidized on the surface of the pool. And you'll freak out and you'll be like, oh my God, what happened? Well, the good news is it'll go away after a couple weeks. And if you want to get rid of it quicker, you can there's a solution on our website, but you can use a phosphonic acid. We recommend a phosphonic acid that will dissolve that off the surface and into the pool. And that phosphonic acid is safe to use on all surfaces. So dissolve and dilute cal hypo if you don't know what type of cal hypo you have before pouring in the pool. And then again, the cyanuric acid situation, I covered that earlier. But high cyanuric acid, make sure if it's highly elevated, make sure that your water's in balance and your alkalinity is adjusted up. So those are kind of the 4 ways to screw it up, and the 4 things that if you just follow a couple basic steps, it's kind of a no-brainer, right? Those are very avoidable. So it's not something to be afraid of, but it's definitely something to be aware of, and just use the product properly, and you won't have any of these issues. So again, for more information on that, guys, there's also kind of a fix if you do screw it up on our FAQs. So you can read those, and if you get into trouble, we're here to help you. We can talk you through it and recommend a solution for you. But again, guys, very avoidable if you just kind of follow our basic directions.
Very good. Well, we appreciate you again, Fred. We always really appreciate this relationship that we've built over the years, and used to come to Brothers and do seminars with our guys, and we've had this relationship for several years, and we truly value it. So we really thank you a lot for coming out here.
Yeah, no, I can't thank you guys enough for what you guys are doing as pool chasers for our industry. Is really great. I mean, it's really helping so many people get the right information in an enjoyable way that's fun to listen to, and you guys have done just a great job of kind of being the pioneers of this podcast and kind of getting information out to our industry. And so I really thank you guys for that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
Hey, Pool Chasers. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode. To connect with today's guests, including pictures, links, and resources from everything discussed today, you can visit the episode page at poolchasers.com or click the links below. To connect more with us, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter by searching at Pool Chasers. If you would like to support the podcast, the easiest and most effective way is to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as share the show or your favorite episode with a friend or on social media. Also, you can get early access to each episode by supporting us through Patreon. We know your time is valuable, so thank you for sharing some of yours with us today.
See you out there, Pool Chasers.